Hi, and welcome to the 11th installment of the Stretch Your Sketch class, hosted by Two Peas in a Bucket. I'm Garden Girl Jen Gallagher, and this is the sketch we are creating today. It is a 12 by 12 sketch, and we're going to start by mixing up this sketch a little bit. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to use some Echo Park double-sided paper. This is a solid paper, but it has a little bit of a distress to it. And we're going to put it over here on the edge. And we're going to add some tan photo corners to it. I like to use photo corners on almost all of my projects, but you don't have to do that exact same thing. This bottom paper is a double-sided pattern paper from American Crafts from the Amy Tangerine line. And I have pre-cut this to fit on the page. And then the next paper that I want to add, I have pre-cut this, I would call it a label shape from Jelly Bean Soup pattern paper. And the way that I do this is kind of sneaky, is I'll take a piece of cardstock and I'll fold it in half. And then using my scissors, I cut along the edge. And when I open it up, it creates a perfect pattern. And then I took that cardstock pattern and put it on this pattern paper to get the exact shape I wanted. Another way to do this is to use die cut shapes. You could also use a Silhouette die cut machine. I know the Cameo should be coming to the store soon if it isn't in already, or the original SD machine, which works just as well, and that I have the original machine. This is also a piece of pattern paper from Jelly Bean Soup. I just love these darling little typewriters on here, and I've pre-cut this strip as well. We're going to add that onto my hand-cut strip. And one little designer tip that I like to use is I work a lot with the lines found on the pattern paper. So I line the bottom edge along a line that already exists on the pattern paper, and that's one way that I like to get my paper straight. So let's look at the original sketch. Basically, I divided the sketch right here and created that side over here. You can see that I've created a place for the photos, I've created a space for the title, and we're going to put the photos in now. So I have pre-printed some 4-inch wide photos using my Canon printer. And I like to use black and white when I'm going with a loud color scheme, because then it doesn't detract from what I'm already trying to put on the page. And we're going to actually do something a little different than the sketch, and I'll show you when we're done. But the sketch calls for 3 straight photos, and I just thought it would be more interesting to twist and turn the photos a little bit. That is definitely one way that you can stretch your sketch. So I'm using glue dots for the photos. They seem to stick a little bit better. You could switch the sketch up by doing one large photo. You could do a bunch of really tiny photos, lots and lots of options here. So let me show you the original sketch again. 3 straight photos here, 3 pocket photos here. Now I'm going to add this little chipboard piece. This is from Pebbles, and again I'm going to use glue dots because when I'm working with chipboard I want a stronger adhesive. And I'm just going to put that right behind the top of my photo. And then I'm going to use some Jelly Bean label stickers. This is the Days of the Week sticker sheet, and I'm going to use the sticker called My Favorite Day. And I'm going to put that right across. One thing that I love doing is kind of layering my elements. It gives it a little bit more dimension on the page. And that's one way to stretch your sketch, is changing up the elements. Okay, before we get to this bottom part, I want to talk about this side part. Now, on this side part, there's 2 arrows and a circular journaling element. Now, here's where I'm really going to switch up this sketch. I'm actually going to use several of these American Crafts die-cut tags, and I'm going to place them behind my paper, my pattern paper. Line them up a little bit. You can cut off the edges if you need to. Vary how much they stick out. It's really easy to do. The reason why I like these tags is because they match the typewriter colors in my pattern paper, even though they weren't originally intended to go together. I always pick a pattern paper first, and then I go looking for elements that will match. And that's one way that I like to kind of make this sketch my own. So again, this is definitely different from the sketch, but it's one way that the sketch spoke to me, and that's that I just loved the idea of an interesting element on the left side, and that is how I interpreted the sketch. So again, I didn't use the arrows, instead I used tags. Okay, so let's go ahead and work on this section over here. Now, I put big butterflies in the sketch to indicate that you're going to want something big, a big element there. You could use die cuts, and you can use large stickers or whatever you want. I am actually going to be inspired by this left side of the sketch where I had a circle journaling element, and I've decided that I'm going to use this on this side of the sketch. So I have pre-printed out journaling on 2 circular elements. This particular one I printed out and then punched out with my 1 3/4 inch circle punch. And this one I printed out and cut with a circle cutter. So it's good to have both kinds of tools on hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the bottom edge off this particular one and add adhesive to the bottom, and I'm going to put it right here on the bottom so that it looks like it's kind of cut off. Bring it closer if I can. Maybe I can't. So you can kind of see how that works. And then I'm going to take the large circular element and put that on the page. One way to do this is to cut the circle first. Measure the width of the circle that you want. Cut the circle first, then print out the journaling, then stick the circle onto the printed paper, and that's one way you can get a slightly different or a better approach to cutting out circles. Okay, now I want to add a little, just a cardstock border across the pattern paper. And we'll just put that at the bottom of the typewriters. Again, use the lines on the pattern paper to get your lines straight. And now I want to add a title. And I have pre-cut, using my Silhouette and using a shape that I downloaded from my Silhouette software, I'm going to add a title that's going to say Daily Notes. Now, this part of the die cut comes with an outline, but it's a couple of different levels to complete this title. This is part of it, and this is part of it. Now, let me show you how you can finish up the whole title. Okay, to finish up the title, this is what my paper looks like after I have cut it with my Silhouette machine. And I'm going to pull away the inside part of this cut. So you can see that I'm going to pull away just the very, very tiny inside pieces. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue down the center piece, and then I'm going to glue the outer piece right on top of it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so here you can see the title, and it's just like I said, it's like a puzzle, and you just put the pieces together. Let's go ahead and finish up the layout. One of the things I wanted to do is I have this Brad from Echo Park, and we are going to do a sentiment stamped on top of this. That's one way to dress things up, is to add little sentiment stamps. I always keep quite a few on hand for just this very thing. This one says, I'm always here for you. So this is a layout about how I want to be there for my daughter. So to stamp that, I took the Brad out of it. You don't want to stamp with the Brad there, or you won't be able to stamp through all the paper that you need to stamp through. And plus it'll make your stamp look a little messed up. Alright, so using a paper piercer, I'm going to poke a hole for the Brad. And then I'm going to add that red brad, and this is actually a Christmas brad collection, but because the colors were similar, then I used it for this layout. So look for ways that you can incorporate maybe some of your seasonal items into less thematic projects. All right, I want to add some baker's twine. It wouldn't be a layout of mine without some twine on it. So here's a fun and different way to add twine to a border. So the first thing I did was poked a hole in each side, and I'm going to add just a silver brad. You could use decorative brads, mini brads, fabric brads, whatever you want. And then don't put them all the way in. Don't push them all the way. Leave them up, sticking up just a little bit. And then go ahead and open them on the back. Okay, now that we have that done, we're going to take our baker's twine and we are going to leave a little bit on this side and wrap it around like that. And then come around this side, pull up your brads a little bit if you need to, and then just continue doing that a couple of times. Just wrapping it around the brad until you get the look that you like. So I'm going to cut off the edge and I'm going to tie a bow in this. Actually, go around one more time. Now we'll tie a bow. Or you can tie a knot if that's more your style, whatever you like to do. I tend to like bows. Alright, we're just about done with this layout, but I wanted to add a border punch at the very bottom of my layout. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this open scallop border punch. I start by putting it backwards to the edge of the paper and then punching. Then I turn over the punch and I match it. See how the three scallops match the pattern? And then I punch again and I continue doing that. Match up three scallops, punch, and just continue doing that until you have the entire border. Now every border punch is slightly different, so follow the manufacturer's instructions to make sure you are getting exactly the border that you need. There are lots of different border punches in the store. I'll link you to a few different ones, and you can use whatever ones fit your personal style. So off camera, I'm going to trim up my border. And then measuring on the bottom, I'm going to trim off the excess and attach this to the bottom of my page. Just slide it in so that the scallops show. All right, let's review how closely the layout turned out to the sketch that we used. So on the sketch, we have 3 photos on the top. We did 3 photos here, but we tilted them. We have a main section here, and we did add the title here in the scallop, but instead of using large die cut shapes, we used this circular element as inspiration for our journaling. On this side of the layout, instead of the arrows, we used a bunch of tags. So lots of different ways to stretch this particular sketch. Be sure to visit 2peasinabucket.com to download a PDF and to find the complete supplies for creating this layout.